Welcome to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. For the next hour, you'll hear proven methods for how to live the multiple income streams dream. Ryan is passionate about helping others discover their gifts and start their own business. He's published 5 books, and his courses and group coaching programs have changed the lives of thousands of students all over the world. Ryan's books include Private Label, The Easy Way, Finding Your Grace Place, and his latest, Streams of Income. And now, here's your host, Ryan Rieger.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Streams of Income radio show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger. Today we're chatting with my good friend, Abe Ortolani. He is a private label genius. Honestly, I know he wouldn't say that because he's a humble guy, but he has launched many brands and helped launch many others. And he knows how to get found on Amazon, which is the key. It's all about keywords. And he has done it multiple times and is super successful. He has partnered up with my friend, Jonathan Bricker, and they are killing it with private label and helping people do that. So if you are interested in the private label model on Amazon, it's changed in the last few years. Abe knows his way around this, and you will enjoy this episode. So here is my interview with Abe. Abe, welcome to Streams of Income Radio. Appreciate you doing this with me.
Well, thanks for having me, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I can't believe it's the first time. We've known each other for quite a while now, and this is the first time you've been on the podcast. Yeah, that's my fault.
Yeah, we've known each other for at least 5 years now.
I know.
Say.
It's crazy. So on this podcast, I love hearing people's stories, and you have a really cool one. Me being a dad, you being a dad. I feel a special place in my heart for other dads out there who want to have the life that you and I have. We get to be at home, we get to be with our sons, and it's special. And that opportunity, exists for anybody that wants to. So tell me about your story, how you got started on all this, and how you got to where you are today.
Well, I was in construction before online. So when I was about 25 years old, I started my first company, which was a commercial flooring company. So we did, large scale commercial projects and things like that. And when you're starting a business like that, a service business where literally your efforts are the results, right? You're going out every single day and grinding, and I live about an hour north of Boston. So, the commute, it was a commute back and forth, 3 hours in traffic every day.
Whoa.
Most
of your jobs were in Boston?
Yeah, Boston. Yeah. We ended up having 2 offices, one in New Hampshire and one in Boston eventually. But early on, it was in the city grind, and all that traffic. 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour days.
Oh my gosh.
And then, of course, I had a son in my late 20s, and then, I had to do the whole family thing.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where I would leave before he would wake up and I would get home when he was asleep, and the only time I really had to kind of spend time with him was on the weekends, and it was tough, not having the relationship sort of I wanted, and that was very important to me, so so that took a lot of time from the family. It was that was the most frustrating thing for me. And then actually I fell into of course I wanted to get out of doing that, right? I wanted more time. I tried to figure out ways to kind of take myself out of the equation while still building the business, and you have to earn a living.
And people, right?
Yeah, we had about 21 employees. Okay. Yeah, so it was pretty good size, size business at the end there. And I never could understand how I could step away from that and do something else, But then sort of life gives you that kick in the teeth, right?
Yeah.
And what happened was, I had one day I was installing carpet and I heard just this click in my knee, Yeah. And I didn't know what it was. And then I went to the, orthopedic surgeon, and he was like, yeah, you shredded your meniscus in your right knee, So, he kind of put it in perspective, and he said, well, listen, it's $10,000 every time you want to get a knee done. Like, I'm good with that, because that's what I do. But he was like, if you want to walk by the time you're 50, you need to stop slamming your knees into a wall, because that's essentially what I was doing.
Because you were laying carpet, and that's what
I'm on my knees all day. It was brutal. As a matter of fact, side note, my sister asked me to do a couple of small rooms in her house because she just had a baby.
Right.
And this is just a few months ago.
Okay.
And I went and did those rooms. I couldn't believe how out of shape I am, like from what I used to do.
Yeah.
I was covered in sweat. Knees were killing me. I could barely walk. And I was like, I never want to do this again.
Right.
And I used to do that every single day for hours and hours and hours a day. Right.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway. Yeah. So, after a while I wanted to, get out of that business and sort of that life change hit me and put it in perspective. So then I, when I was laid up trying to figure out something else, I just started, kind of reading books and doing some things like that. And I was like, okay, let me, I don't know, about this online business world. And I started looking into it. And I think what originally happened was I went to go sell some stuff. Well, I used to buy a lot of things off eBay and things like that. And
for
I went to go
or personal.
Yeah. I mean, I would buy used equipment, if we needed floor sanders or things like that.
Yeah.
And I started to say, then I had a lot of tools and things that I could get rid of. So I started looking into like, okay, maybe I can sell some of my stuff on eBay. And then I had no idea how to do that, so I bought a book on it and then was trying to figure out all that stuff. Right. And that sort of led me into like reading books about online stuff. And one of the books that, it was like I read a book that mentioned another book. And eventually this led me to like the 4-hour work week, which a lot of people in that era that is their exposure to this business.
Yeah.
That book was the first time I said, okay, there are all these softwares and resources and ways to automate things that, and outsourcing to other people. And I started figuring all that out. And I was like, wow, it doesn't have to all be me. I could actually do that. And that's exactly what I did. 2015 was the first year that I completely didn't install one single carpet.
Wow.
And I just restructured the business so that everybody else did all the work. And I just managed it. I changed the pay structure to incentivize guys to run their own crews and buy their own materials and own their own trucks if they wanted to. I also had several trucks that I would lease out, but it just made me step away from the business, and that freedom now was the most liberating thing ever, So then I said, okay, well, maybe now, of course, I can't sit still. So I was like, okay, look, I got to start a new business now, So what can I do otherwise, other than doing this, right? So I started selling off my equipment, and I started doing little things like I would go into Home Depot and I would go into the rental center, and they put a certain amount of hours on their machines, and then they put them up for sale at like 10% of the what they cost. So I started looking on eBay. Okay, what's a sander going for? What's this going with? And I would buy the used equipment from Home Depot and sell it used on eBay.
Brilliant.
Locally, right? This is like the old, before Facebook Marketplace existed and everything, right? And I was cleaning up. I mean, I would buy a $300 floor sander or some sort of machine, and I would sell it for $1,200.
Wow.
So and I would do maybe I started doing maybe like 5 or 6 of them a month. Then I got into craft, and I had a woodworking shop in my house at the time. It was a hobby of mine, and I started to buy really rare craft wood, they call it, right? These are rare woods that people they come from South America, and people do crafts out of it. They make like knife handles and all these different things, right? So I started buying bulk craft wood and cutting it up and selling it on eBay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and one
thing we'll stop right here real quick is I think you just gave an awesome tip. Is when people get started selling online, like, what should I sell? Well, literally, you and I both know you could sell anything.
Oh yeah.
But you started with something that you knew you had some knowledge about. Sure. Yeah. Like you already had that. You probably were already at those Lowe's and Home Depots and already knew those people. Not that mattered so much, but you knew what a sander you knew they had that program that they even sold those off at a discount. So you had that inside knowledge, but you knew that equipment. And so guys start with, I mean, you can start anywhere. I mean, but if he already had an advantage with tools. And so what is it that you have that advantage of, and look at that niche? I tell people, what's your low hanging fruit? And that for you definitely was that tool niche. And, that's amazing. You sold 5 or 6 of those a month.
Yeah. And, we'll get into like talking about private label and a little bit later, but, I still follow that same thought process. I start with my interest, and there are several reasons why, you want to do that, but that's exactly what I did. And it was just a, sort of an opportunity, right? I would usually go into Home Depot rentals to rent something, but I would notice like, oh, they're selling one too. Maybe should I buy one? Am I going to need this more often? And then that sort of registered.
When you were doing that, was this like just, because you were still earning income from the business still, even though so was this just a side hustle, or was this like, what was the point?
This was very, very much a side hustle. Okay. I didn't, you get into this, sort of this analysis thing that happens when you get a new exciting business opportunity, right? And you overthink everything, you read everything you can try and read, and it's super exciting to you, but you really don't know the direction to move in, right? You're just kind of like, you're just in this sort of this spin of motivation and excitement, but you don't have a direction, Yeah. And that's sort of what happened to me. Okay. And it, I was just like, okay, I can make a little bit extra money here and there. And it's a way to kind of give me something to do while I'm doing. But the company was still making money, very much passive income at this point. I was not, in the daily grind, so it was perfect for me. I was making less from it, but I was still doing pretty well. Right. Yeah. And that helped because it allowed me to take that and invest it in new things. Right. Yeah. But, from all those little side hustles that I was doing, and there were a lot of them, I mean, but, just little ideas like that. But then things changed when I heard about Amazon. Right. And specifically, at the time, it blew my mind that I could walk into a store, buy something off the shelf, send it to Amazon, and then mark it up for 2-3 times what it was, just because it was being bought online, right? Yeah. That blew my mind. I couldn't believe people would pay that extra money. To me, it was ridiculous, But it was a big opportunity. And then when I started getting into some of those side groups and learning, some of the strategies behind it and ways to scale it. I mean, I realized this was a serious business, Yeah. And that's exactly what I did. And man, I hustled doing that, and went into what I knew, which was still tools. I mean,
so were you doing retail arbitrage tools?
Yeah. Yeah. To start, that's exactly what I was doing. And then started branching out, and then really hit it big in shoes. Okay. That I joined a couple of shoe selling groups, and back then you could sell Nikes. There was no, like, Amazon 5-6 years ago was the Wild West, right? There were no restrictions, no brand restrictions. You can do whatever you wanted, right? For the most part. And I would go in, toys, of course, too. I'd go into Toys R Us, and I would just take Lego themed sets, like Scooby-Doo and all these Star Wars, whatever. And I would just bundle them together, mark them up 3-4 times what I paid for it, and they'd sell. I mean, that was Amazon 6 years ago, right? Yeah. So I just started doing all kinds of stuff like that, right? And it really, so the shoes really took off. I have, 6 or so outlets within a 2-hour radius drive from my location. So I would just spend a weekend and fill up one of my carpet vans with Nike shoes, And that's when I really started seeing serious returns. We had our first, I think it was the fourth quarter of 2015. We had our first 6-figure month, doing that sort of stuff. I eventually hired some people to kind of help with that. And then that's actually, I think that's when I met you, right? We were in one of those little fourth quarter groups there, and that was just starting out.
That's right. It was with Lance and Barrington.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Lance became your friend. And connected us.
Yeah, exactly. And then I joined your private label group probably, a few months after that
Yeah.
Because I had some extra, income to spend and invest into some more passive opportunities, right? I mean, I didn't like arbitrage. Like I didn't like because what I did is I traded one 9 to 5 for another doing arbitrage, right? I mean, and at this point I'd gone through some family stuff, went through a divorce, had to, move out of my house and become a single dad, right? My son was now 5 at the time or so.
Yeah.
So I had this whole life shift, career change, life change, single dad time, so I had to really figure out, okay, the 9 to 5 hustle grind. And what it was for me at the time was out at the stores all day while he was at daycare. And then I get him at night, cook for him, all that stuff. And then he goes to bed at 7, 8 o'clock, and from then until 2 a.m, I'm packing and shipping for the next day to Amazon. That was my new life, right?
Yeah,
because that's all I knew was hustle like that. So that was not a model that I wanted to go with, right? So that's what kind of spiked me into private label opportunities. Going into your group and following those systems of and in the beginning, I mean, I probably launched a good 30 products that didn't work out. It was I was just like kind of anything that idea. But you remember, I was kind of coming up with these weird ways to kind of generate ideas and things like that and test them out and see if
but
they
you were
work.
able to test small. So none of these were like, plunking down $2,000 and like hoping it sells. You were able to do small tests. Yeah.
These were very, very small ideas that, again, Amazon was a different animal then, and we had ways to kind of find certain opportunities and then, just try and test it out for a couple $100 or something like that. Just trying to figure it out. And then, it was at that point, it was like, even if I did hit one big, I didn't even really know what to do next. It was kind of like scaling was something else. Right.
Sure.
But it was, but it was those, it's almost like when you, like I said, you get into that spiral of really not knowing what direction to go in. But then like the action that you put into anything shows you the next thing to do. Yeah. Right. And that's what a lot of people miss on, because they know what to do, right? They have all the information. There's a course. Every course works more or less, right?
Yeah.
But they never just follow through with it, right? And until you do that, then you don't really see where to go, right? And that's the difference, right? And I was definitely guilty of doing that, just reading too much information, reading too many books, taking too many courses, going to so many conferences, meeting so many people, and not like following through on all those opportunities, right?
Right.
But luckily enough, I was able to follow through on a lot of
you've done really well with the private label. Talk about that first product. I remember, I think it's a tool, some type of tool or something, and it was in a small little box. And
so the first big winner we had was a license plate magnet.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
That, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it wasn't your typical one. And I'll tell you right now, like when I say interest is where to start, my brother-in-law owns a car dealership right up in New Hampshire. So, and I was at his dealership one day noticing that like he had a screwdriver in his back pocket, and he runs it himself, maybe one employee, and he has to do 10 test drives a day or at least, right? Small dealership. But he would be running around changing the plates. I'm like, man, that's awful. Like, why, and he's just like, so he would have to do this. And there were these quick change bolts that you could do. There's a bunch of different things like that. And then for some reason, I'm not even sure how I found it. Oh, it's probably on some software tool or something. I just started looking at automotive and ended up finding a product, found a supplier in China for it. We had they had weird colors, so we had the colors changed to black, and we had to remix the rubber coating so that it didn't leave marks on the car, because that was one. And we found all these things to make adjustments through reviews and things on Amazon, right? So we just figured out, the way to customize it, so it was the only one of its kind. And I mean, we launched that product, and not even really running a whole lot of ads. Again, this is 4 or 5 years ago, but I mean, we got it to I mean, it was selling probably 30, 40 units a day. You know, that was a really, that's right where you want to be with the product, because, you know, more than that, you start getting hijackers and competitors. You know, so that was a great for a first product. Then we sort of expanded from there into a bunch of different automotive items, right?
Gosh.
So, yeah, and you know, that was, you know, that's the thing. I mean, at the time, not a lot of people were. Well, I mean, people were going to China, but there was a lot of fear in doing that, because now it's different, right? It's much more of a connection there. But you know, back then it was, how do you know if a supplier is really great? You know, how do you know this? Like, how do you know all these things? So we just kind of took a shot, and it worked out. You know, but yeah, I mean, nowadays it's much different. I've been to China. I've met my sourcing agents there. It's you know, so that was an eye-opening experience in itself. But yeah, I mean, that was the first one. And then you know, from private label, we, you know, expanded into, you know, working with other businesses, working with other brands, and helping them grow and scale their businesses, and showing people, you know, the right way to launch a product, the right way to, you know, how to really understanding the Amazon system and how to like sort of break that down. You know, and it's grown into expanding into coaching services.
That's awesome.
Different information stuff. So, yeah. So I mean, it like, you know, like your podcast, right? Is that multiple income stream, right?
Yeah.
You kind of first you do it, you know, you learn it, you do it, and then you teach it, right? Some formula of that, right?
That's awesome. And I definitely want to hear about what you and Jonathan have cooked up together about and helping people with launching brands. But let's talk about your private label strategy. So let's say, I know we can maybe talk a little bit about what you would do if you're starting off brand new, but then you already have a brand. So maybe let's talk to the new person real quick.
Sure. Yeah. I love
who is at the very beginning of his private label experience. They don't have, you know, 10 grand to put down on a product. What would you suggest to them? Trying as close as we can get to the private label, the easy way model. How much of that do you still think is something that people can do right now to get their feet wet with it?
Okay, so a lot has changed. Amazon has clamped down for brands, right? It's really hard to you know, to just go and even create a listing now without a brand name, right? Like a legit trademarked brand name. There are some creative ways around it, and things like that, but you still have to have, you know, name fixed to the product. You have to have packaging design and all that stuff, and they might at that point let you white label it, or you have to launch a listing that says NA on it, which is, you know, not applicable to the brand name, but you know, you have to, you know, eventually, you know, that has its own kind of issues there, right?
Sure.
But yeah, just speaking to the new person though, here's the first thing that I would do is I would understand what your budget is. Okay. If you only have a couple $100, you don't want to do private label, right? Yeah. It's there's just no way to make that work, because you're going to need to invest more than that in just getting a test or something, right? Quote unquote test done, which is, you know, what do you test, right? Well, just understanding the keywords and how much it's going to cost to advertise the product, what's the cost for logistics.
And maybe that person be more closer to point them to like a bundling type strategy.
Do something else that's going to earn you income first.
Yeah.
Right. Get your income up to a point where you can, you know, chip off a few grand to do a private label launch, and source based on what that budget is. Okay. So that's the other more important thing, right? Is like understanding what your capabilities are. There are a couple of things that are going to kill your product, and one is running out of stock, right? And you know, two is like picking a really saturated market, of course, right? And there are some ways around that. So understanding what your budget is, because, for example, I mean, I don't have, you know, calculators in front of me, but, you know, if you have $10,000 to launch a product, right? And you're probably gonna have to put around, you know, a little less than half, maybe it's like 40% of that is going to have to go into, you know, your first round of inventory, right?
Yep.
The rest of that is going to go towards marketing and scaling, right? So you need before you sell out your first month of inventory, you need a second month, right?
Yeah.
You need to like replenish that before you get the money from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you need to understand like the budget you have, right? Because
Yeah.
if you run out of money, Amazon doesn't give it. New accounts take 30 days now to give. They hold a reserve on you to even get your money.
Mm-hmm.
And we see it depending on certain situations, it could be different. But that's what we're seeing on new accounts. They hold more of a reserve on you and things like that. So if you blow it out of the gate, that's great. Then Amazon holds your money, you run out of stock, and you have to do it all over again. Right?
Yeah.
So understanding the budget so that doesn't happen, right? And now if you have, say you have 5,000 to launch versus 10,000, I'm just throwing numbers up there,
Sure.
right? Your sourcing for the product you sell can't be 100 a day turn product, right? You're not going to be able to afford it. Right? You're going to run out of stock. So you have to source more of a product that's like 5-10 a day, right? And understanding those numbers and what that turn rate's going to be so that you can keep up with it, right? And you do have extra money to reorder, and then you start getting your funds from Amazon. You can start scaling and investing there. So what we do is we pick one product, understanding that initial launch budget. We pick a product that has parameters that we can work with, right? Now we scale that product vertically, right? Growing the sales, ranking for more keywords, increasing, getting reviews, all those things that you need to do to scale a product. And then you take the profits from that product and you roll it into product number 2, right? And then scale that vertically, and then so on and so forth. And eventually build out a portfolio of, 10, 15 products. Now, each one of those products are their own separate income stream.
Right.
Now, mind you, also keep in mind that you're not really putting any money in your pocket, right? If you're scaling on that model, you can eventually, right? But everything's pretty much going to get reinvested, right? So you just have to have that mindset of this, and have another income stream. It's disheartening to see when people say, "Oh yeah, I just quit my job or I just got laid off, and I want to launch a product," right? And that's really, you need some income coming in to live off. Private label isn't the answer.
More of a long game.
It's a long game, right?
Okay.
Now just breaking up down that model, right? So so now one of the things I said earlier was like, don't sell in saturated markets, right? Rule number 1, especially for Amazon, it's at that end of things, it is a jungle, right? As far as competition, we have a lot of Chinese sellers selling products now. I mean, if you know what something is, it's pretty common. Don't sell it. It's going to be too saturated. Now, there's deeper ways you can dig in and find out that information. We can't get into that on a podcast, of course, but we could, but no one will understand what I'm talking about. So here's the way to kind of discover what we call niche opportunities, right?
Yes, I definitely wanted to get to this, your strategy for finding products.
Yes, that's something we can understand, right? Now, a lot of people use software tools to reverse engineer Amazon, right? I don't do that. Amazon's usually the last to get stuff, right? The rest of the world, trends start to pick up everywhere else, right? Before kind of comes to Amazon, and then it's copied and saturated and everybody's trying to sell it, right? So I don't go from that side of it. I go from the front side, right?
Yeah.
And I start with my interests, right? Always. So the first thing that I do is I sit down and I brainstorm a list of interests. So I go in and I say, okay, I'm into hunting, I'm into woodworking, I'm into fishing, military, whatever. And it doesn't even have to be interests that are specific to you. It could be interests that interest of your father, your wife, girlfriend, kids, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Just something that's going to, because there's a couple of reasons for this. One is when you start launching a brand, you're going to have to, get into the meat and bones of the market, right? You need to understand your customer. You need to understand the way they think, the way they react, right? Their emotions. You need to understand all the products that they buy. You need to know, we have to construct an avatar of our ideal customer, right? And if you're in a market that you could care less about, like, I'm a big guy, right? 6'3", 250, like not really gonna care about makeup, or baby clothes, or like just things, beauty products don't and have any enjoyment, right?
Right.
I'm not going to sell that stuff because I'm not going to sit there and comb through beauty product YouTube channels and Facebook groups and everything else, right?
Right.
Not going to happen. So I need to be excited about the product I'm selling.
Yeah.
The other reason is the story behind the brand, right? Eventually you want to think about that. And it always rolls back to your brand story is your story on some level, right? I just told you the story of how I found my first product, right? That's my story. That's my family, brother-in-law, right? The whole connection there. Yeah. That's my brand story. So I'm trying to solve a problem for a certain market, right? Products solve problems. So, that's why I say start with the interest. Now, to break that down, your interest now becomes a starting point in search engines, right? So Pinterest, Google, e-com sites, all this stuff. Now, what I would do, don't think of interest as categories, right? We're not looking at grocery and gourmet food or, home and kitchen, right? Those aren't interests. Break it down to interest. But what we do is we can slice those interests up into sub-markets or niches, as we call them, right? So woodworking turns into wood carving, resin woodworking, furniture making, cabinetry, right? Those are sub-markets of woodworking, for example, right? So that is where the opportunities are in those niches, right? So what I can do is I can take an interest, I can slice it into a whole bunch of little niches, and then figure out like, okay, what's trending, what's new and exciting, right? What hasn't been around a while, okay? And then those niches on another level become entries into search engines like Google, interested in whatever, right? Or life hacks on this, or products related to whatever the niche is, right? You can just do all these searches, and Pinterest is great. Google's great, probably too. Pinterest is great because it leads you to e-com sites, niche e-com sites, right? So if you go into a search, it's going to pull up a whole bunch of stores that sell that type of stuff. And then you can go into all their inventory on the stores. And then that's the next step is after you find these niches, you just ask yourself, okay, what are all the products that this interest buys, this niche buys, right? Now that list of product ideas becomes what we call a lead list, right? An idea list. And that's our goal when we're doing discovery, is building those idea lists and just a brainstorming, brain dumping mentality. No research, no data yet, nothing. We just build out that lead list. Now, if you think of a tree, right? You're breaking down the interest, expanding to all the niches in that interest, expanding to all the products in those niches. You can build a list pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, of course.
Now we take that lead list, and then we go and extract the data, right? We go into Amazon. We look at the Amazon pages.
You use a tool for that, or you just go into Amazon.com?
For me, I just look at. So what I do is I first find. So I'll take that lead list, and I take that. Whatever I find, whatever the idea is, whatever I wrote in that notebook for that term. And I do use software at this point. I go in, there's a software tool I use called Helium 10. It's pretty much the only tool I use for everything. I go into that tool and I put in one of their tools, which is a keyword suggestion tool, right? Not a suggestion, but it finds all related keywords to that keyword. Because all the research has to start on the main keyword, right? You can't, this is the way that the most people look for that particular item on Amazon, right? So if I have to find out what that is, so if I put in, some random, keyword that I thought it was, but it's really the main search thing is something else, this tool will tell me that. Okay. So then I look on Amazon under that keyword search, and I look and see what that very high traffic page. Well, first I see what the traffic is, make sure there's volume there, there's demand. And then I go into the page and look for things like, okay, are the products on this page have like massive amounts of reviews, thousands of reviews for every product, right? I try to stay under about 600 reviews And I know that may seem high to some people, but I have some serious review getting strategies that I know I can come in and compete, right? So it's all, you got to know your abilities too.
Sure.
But so about 600 reviews is probably the top line. I don't want to see a lot of products having more than that. You know, the less, the better, of course.
Sure.
I don't want to see saturation on the page, what we call Me Too products. So every product is pretty much exactly the same. You know, someone sourced it on Alibaba and white labeled it, and it's all the same, right? You know, we don't want to see that. I also don't want to see sellers who have amazing listings, amazing images, videos, really well done keywords in the titles and bullets, brand registry, right? We don't want to see all that stuff, because the best market is I'll get to a page and every single brand says NA on it. That's what we want, right? Because they're all not branded, right? So now we know that like they're new, it's fresh, right?
Yeah.
You know, so like just some of those markers are, you know, we want to see the products, you know, we also can judge by their BSR ranking whether or not, you know, they're selling well and things like that, right? But here's the thing is that every product sells on possibly hundreds of keywords.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So once it passes that initial scan of that Amazon page, maybe on the top 2 or 3 main search terms, we then have to take a deeper dive. Right. Okay. Now, once it passes that, then my list shrinks to those that pass that initial scan. I then go into extracting more data, right, with another tool inside Helium 10, which basically I find the top 10 main competitors for the product, and then I find all of the keywords, the relevant keywords that product sells on, and I ask a question: are the competitors ranking for all of the keywords? When I say ranking, I mean page rank position, not BSR. Forget BSR. That really means nothing. So page ranked position, meaning I do a search and the first product that comes up, that's ranked number 1, right? And so on and so forth. I need to know if all those competitors are doing a good job at that ranking strategy. Right. So based on that, I run a calculation and come up with a percentage for each competitor on all the keywords. If that percentage is low, that's opportunity. I can come in and smoke them, right? If they're doing a very good job, if they're ranking on all the keywords, there's not a lot of room left for me, right? So I can't come in and compete. But that's pretty much the formula I go through to discover a product and choose a product. Then, of course, there's some extra stuff. If it passes all those tests, you then have to go into logistics, sourcing, finding a source. Number 1, we usually look in China, overseas. And price points, is it going to work for the numbers we need for Amazon? Usually minimum of 4x on the product from landing cost. So, you know, we have to, we have to go into those and those sort of things. Can it be customized? You know, we have to ask all these questions. There's more stuff we have to ask. But yeah, that's you know, that's in a nutshell how we discover new private label opportunities, right?
That's awesome. Wow. Sounds like a lot of work.
You know what it is? It is, if you think about it, right?
You're doing all the data up front. So you know pretty much once you hit go, it's going to be successful.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? If you want to sell a product on Amazon, you need to rank for all of your relevant keywords, right? Essentially, the perfect world, you would be top 10 or top 2 or 3 of every valuable keyword related to your product, right? That's the goal. That's how we're going to sell. If that's the goal, every process we have needs to reverse engineer that goal. Right. So from product discovery to validating the product to launching the product, right, to creating listings, all that. We all have to reverse engineer that process. So that's all I'm doing when I'm validating with the keywords is I'm saying, okay, how are the competitors doing that? Are they doing that well? If the answer is no, then that's an opportunity. Right now we can come in and compete, right? So that's essentially what what all that means.
So that's
right?
finding the product opportunity. So let's say I go through that. I got my product opportunity. Let's talk now. I've got about 19 minutes left. I want to hear how you launch it, your launch strategy, and then I want to talk about. You said in a webinar that we did that you guys can pretty much rank for top of page 1 for any keyword, which is a big, huge thing to say. Honestly, that's a bold statement, but I know you can because I've seen you do it. So let's talk about the launch strategy that gives you that confidence to do that.
Yeah, and I would say that you can. I can do that. I don't like on super saturated markets. I don't know if you'd stay there because someone's going to come in and do it again, right? Launches on a competitive keywords are very expensive, so you need massive budgets, right? But that's only the more like niche opportunities you find, the more this system's gonna work really well, right? So the way that we launch products is two ways. Now the Amazon advertising system is very they've made a lot of updates. So sometimes we can just launch with PPC, right? Just running ads. But if we have to get a little bit more aggressive, we go and we basically use off Amazon advertising primarily through Facebook, right? And you only want to do that for launches because we don't want to double pay for ads and things like that. But what we use is a system, basically a chat marketing system, a funnel, right? From with a service called ManyChat, right? There are others, but that's the one we use. And we basically construct a funnel, and it's all automated, right? But we can, there's a lot of like nuts and bolts to it. But basically what it does is you ask a customer to follow the natural buying sequence on Amazon, which is search for a keyword, find your product organically, and purchase that product, right? To ask them to do all that, we have to provide them an incentive for doing it. Usually it's a full price gift card is what we offer, right? And we can, we launch several keywords at once, and then we have a system on the back end to follow up with reviews after they get it. And also, we have insert cards in place to sign up for do things. So primarily what we want to do with this strategy, because the other thing is we can't collect customer information from Amazon, right? So this funnel also builds our audience list, which is huge. It's key for a brand. Absolutely key.
Yeah, because guys, and you probably already understand this, but then you launch product one, especially if it's in the same niche. Let's say you have an email list of 2,000 people that bought your first product or at least got the code. Now you can go back to them. Hey, now we got product number 2, and that's a list you can, you can launch that second product to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, so that's the key points is basically building an audience, ranking for keywords, and getting reviews and, things like that. Right. So, we're trying to just build this whole system. And then, of course you can leverage that same audience that, you have, and also if you want to sell on other channels, if you have a Shopify store, the customer audience is a huge piece, right? Because those are customers you own, right? So that's more or less how we launch products. I mean, it's a combination of that, running Amazon ads, staying engaged with your customer list, and just delivering value in that way.
That's awesome. So anybody can do this. It's if you're just starting out, you got to go through the process of finding a product. Does this especially, and I would definitely want to get into the nuts and bolts of actually how somebody can hook up with you and what you guys do for them. But is it if they already have a product that's selling it really well? Is that I imagine you can help them blow it up even more.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we love working with existing brands who want to scale, and we can plug them into our system. We have services that we do, and we partner with brands, right? We run their entire Amazon business. Wow. And obviously there's a fee for a percentage, but it's sort of a hands-off automation approach to other brands, right? They can just sort of let us do the work, and we can grow their Amazon business. We can help brands find new products, right? With some of the systems that we have, discovery and things like that. So
Oh my gosh. Wow. So tell me about them. I know there's going to be people that are interested and want to learn more about how they can get in touch with you. So let's talk about the actual service, what it does. I mean, I guess pretty much to sum up, it does what you just said. You guys automate all that for us, but let's go into talking about what you guys do.
Yeah. So we have a few different things. We do have a management service that we provide, right? What I just mentioned. We do different one-off piece services, right? Things like, building your enhanced brand content to, just doing a product launch for you, sort of one and done or whatever. pretty much cover, we do services that cover a wide range of e-commerce service, build Shopify stores. We do full integration for audience building, email lists, messenger, SMS, which is text messaging, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
So we build all those systems in place, especially if you're running an e-commerce store off Amazon. The most sales are made on the follow-up, right? So we want to have that follow-up system in place. But what we started doing for existing brands, people that already have products, is we took all of the templates that we have built for, audience building, for ranking products, for getting reviews, for, affiliate marketing, for building rewards programs in Shopify, all these different things. And we put them together in templates and launched a service where you basically can access all of our templates, download them into your accounts, and we have over 20 videos of training on how to implement these.
Wow. So they can, they're more of a do-it-yourselfer type of person.
Exactly, right.
Doesn't want to, or doesn't feel like they can afford to pay you guys to do it for them. They can just run your system on their own.
Exactly, right. So so they it's all sort of pre-built, and they just brand it themselves, right? So they go in, they just change the images, change the branding, and there's training guides to show exactly how to implement all of these things.
Yeah.
And these are all the funnels that we use every single day. So
awesome.
we have an engaged Facebook group where we're doing this stuff right alongside you. And if we tweak something, because things change almost daily, right? With Amazon, it's just always something new.
Oh, sure.
One of the recent changes was that Amazon started flagging links in these funnels, right? So we stopped using links completely. No links. We had to run some trial and error and some tests, but we figured it out, right? So so there is there's a lot of updates we make. There's a lot of things that we do to keep these funnels working. So I mean, that's a huge resource for people who already have brands. And that's sometimes awesome. they get them and they say, well, I still don't want to do the work to kind of. It still takes work to kind of rebrand and implement them and things like that. But sometimes they just want us to do it for them, so we have that service as well.
Who would you say is the ideal client for you guys? I know that it's different. Like if I'm already a big brand and selling and just want to pass it off to you, that's a different thing. But most of my audience are, my audience well. It's people that are just doing retail arbitrage, online arbitrage. Maybe they're not even doing this at all. Do you think? Is there a certain level they should aspire to before they even jump into this, or where do you think somebody should be? Because I don't want to,
no, I get
obviously have a certain person that you probably work better than another.
Yeah, there's definitely you want to have, like, if you're completely brand new to this probably isn't for you, right? If you have a product or about to get a product that you want to launch on Amazon, and you have some money for marketing, right? You have maybe $1,500 that you're going to be putting in towards marketing, and you have enough money for enough inventory to implement all these things. We have calculators and stuff that could kind of show you how to determine all that. But this is probably, because we do have people that are selling their first product, but are just launching their first product. That's fine, right?
Yeah.
Just know that there is expenses to this, right?
Sure.
Now, from the management side of things, you probably want to be doing about a consistent, 30,000 a month, I say, is a good marker. A little more, a little less, fine.
Yeah.
But at least that, because at that point you're making enough money to where you can onboard a company to come in and do all the work, and you're not going to miss, the percentage that is
sure.
And there's a whole, usually we would want to, we would talk to a brand like that and, see if it's a right fit, make sure that, we like, we like the product and we like the customer and all that, right? It's got to be a good fit for those type of arrangements.
Absolutely.
But that's a good
somebody
marker.
Who wants to be what you guys are doing. Would you welcome, like, let's say somebody who loves the back inner workings of this type of stuff, wants to go through your program and also partner with use that same knowledge and partner up with companies? Yeah,
I mean, for sure. Some of the people in our group are what we call like product partnering companies, right?
Awesome.
They're running their own agencies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they don't maybe they want to learn, how we've done a lot of these. So, they want to learn how to do it. And, they come into the program, learn, these launch funnels, and they can implement that for their clients as well.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Revenue
yeah, we love those types of companies too, because that, especially if we need, let's say we have a new client and we're a little overwhelmed or something, right? Mm-hmm. And before we can hire and train a new person, we just say, hey, who's great at website design? Who's a great copywriter? Who's great at images? Who does this? Mm-hmm. So we have this resource of people who are good at other stuff, and we can outsource things, or they can outsource to us. So, we learn and grow together and scale together. That's the value of community, I think.
That's awesome. Wow. So many opportunities. I mean, you wouldn't even have to have your own product. You get good at this, and you could just, partner with other companies and run their products for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you understand the system, I mean, and you're willing to do the work, and, you certainly could help, because most brands who aren't on Amazon yet, they don't have a clue about Amazon. I mean, we see it all the time. Like we work with some brands that are just never sold on Amazon, but they do millions off Amazon. And we want to, give them an extra revenue stream for Amazon and help them grow that way. Right. So, there's a lot of opportunities for doing that, right?
Totally. Quick tip. What would you say to somebody who's like, man, this sounds awesome, I want to do this for other companies? There's probably 500 different ways to find companies like this, but what's one quick way you would say to find companies that might be ideal for this to partner up with and run their Amazon account? Where's one place they could go? And
I mean, I know it's COVID life now, right? And trade shows aren't really happening, but that was a great place. Going to ASD was sort of a founding places where we would go and find companies and things like that.
Just ask them if they're selling on Amazon, start a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Usually they don't like Amazon sellers, but you can kind of say, well, why aren't you selling your own brand on Amazon then? I mean, there's different ways you can speak. You get 100 no's, but if you get 1 or 2 yeses, that could be some good income for you, right? And that's it's just all about relationships, and people talk to you and they hear you're knowledgeable. Most of the time they'll jump in. Another great place is LinkedIn, right? Get your profile set up. If you go to my Facebook page, there's an opt-in for a whole messenger funnel that I onboard people through. So
nice.
There's LinkedIn's great. That's where you're going to find all these other businesses and brands. You can cold email. Wholesalers, whatever you can find.
Sure.
There's a lot of different ways to do that. I mean, just thinking outside the box.
Because there's all these companies that know they need to be on Amazon, or have tried it, or are doing it and know they're not doing it well, and they need people like you.
Or sometimes they don't even, they just say they just never considered it. They know it's a big opportunity, but they just don't even have the time to even think about it. But you come in and say, hey, we can help you with this.
Absolutely.
A lot of times they're willing to kind of take the plunge with you.
Cool. So you gave me the link. It's onlinebizmomentum.com/mastermind.
Yeah, that's our mastermind group, that template mastermind group. You can go to the sales page. There's more information there. So it's onlinebizmomentum.com/mastermind, right? Or you can shoot me an email at team@onlinebizmomentum.com. And, just ask me some questions and I'd be happy to answer it. Right.
Cool. And guys, these links will be in the show notes at streamsofincomeradio.com. And all those links will be there, so you don't have to write them down right now. So, Abe, anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
No, just thank you for having me. This was fun. Always enjoy talking about the business and the journey.
I'm so proud of you.
Still going.
One thing I love doing is seeing people who I've had in my communities. I guess I could say you were a student of mine, but you surpassed me. For sure. And I love that, because now you started out selling online, you're a dad, and now you've taken this opportunity and created multiple streams of income. I want more Abes, guys. And so get into our community, learn how to do this. There's opportunities to teach, to serve, to coach. You don't have to just be an e-commerce seller. You can take that knowledge and use it to bless other people and create a stream of income from it like Abe has. So super proud of what you've done, Abe. You're a model of just, how to do this right. If you want to go that direction. Now, some people are cool just doing the Amazon thing and making a few $100 extra bucks a month, and that's cool. But you've really blown this up and been able to serve a lot of people with what you're doing.
And that's the most important thing, is being able to give back and help other people out, right? To serve other people, that's the most rewarding thing, right? When you find someone who's struggling and can't figure it out, and then you come in and you affect their life in a way that just, affects everything, their livelihood, their family, their, change their life in some way, right? That's the most rewarding thing ever, right? We don't
really is,
it's not fun doing it all yourself.
No, totally agree. Well, buddy, appreciate you. Thanks for being on with me.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
You've been listening to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. From right here in the Dallas Metroplex, Ryan teaches several entrepreneurial courses and group coaching programs to students all over the world. Be sure to listen next week at the same time for Streams of Income with Ryan Rieger.